What's going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good morning so far. Nice cup of coffee, getting things rolling. We're ramping things up over here. We're working on our 49 Chevy. Again, we're picking up where we left off on the last video. If you did not see that, we worked on the seats. We did a little bit on the rear end of the truck where we're doing a split bumper style roll pan. Sorry for the interruption, guys. Wanted to let you know we've got t-shirts over on the website. Go check those out. The link is in the description below. We've got a couple old style shirts. We've got the traditional Hot Rod Shop shirt. We've got Savvy Mavvy. We've got In Charge, our Charger build we have going, and we've got Superbird shirts. Go check those out. It's looking really cool. We've got all that finished up. We're ready to disassemble that so the bumpers can go out to chrome. Just waiting on the owner to come by, which is in 2 days, so he can just take a look at everything before we disassemble it, and he can't see it, obviously. So one thing I started on in the last video that we didn't really see is the console. Like I said, we're under a deadline on this truck, and it's approaching really quick. We had to build panels for the sides of the seats anyway, so I thought, well, why not build just a simple waterfall console that'll come down through there and really make it look complete. We might go back after the fact and build some elaborate piece, but so far this is taking shape and looking pretty good. So what we're going to do is yank this console out. We're going to continue that. I'll show you what we're using, what we're doing, and hopefully we can make a little more progress on this thing. We also have to fit the front roll pan that we have for this truck. Since we're approaching that deadline so fast and we're really heavy fab on this truck, we just don't really have the time to continue what we're doing. So we got just an aftermarket roll pan piece for the front. It doesn't fit, if you guessed it, so we're gonna make that fit. And probably wish we would have built one anyway. But we've got an idea for the front of the truck. We're going to do all that once this truck makes the show we're trying to get to. So lots left to do. Let's get at it. Carefully. So here's what we've got so far. We've got 1/2-inch MDF that we're using. I have an abundance of MDF. I have this stuff coming out of every corner, everywhere. So we're definitely going to use it. I actually like using MDF. It's really easy to work with. I like it when it's done, and as long as you're not putting this stuff in any sort of moisture situation, it's great. We still use it for our sound systems. Definitely when we're 3D layering parts, it's really easy to router and use, and a lot of really high-end upholstery guys still use it. And I'm saying that because a lot of people don't like it. It is terrible about absorbing moisture. If you ever have a sheet of this and it just gets sprinkled on in the rain, it'll start swelling up like crazy. For us, though, we've never had any issue with it because nothing we have's out in the weather, so we typically don't have to deal with any of that. We've got builds that are 20 plus years old now that have MDF interiors in them. They still look absolutely great. So I don't stress over it too much. But if you are worried about that, and you do have a car that's out in the weather, the big thing nowadays is the ABS plastics. The PVC plastics are really great. The downfall with those is they're all really expensive, but they are a really good product if you are worried about moisture. That's where a lot of people are going nowadays. So here's what we're doing. We've got 2 pieces of 1/2-inch MDF that basically just follow the contours of the seat. Looks really good in the truck. It's really simple. We're going to have a little storage compartment in here, and we may sew up something that kind of follows the design in the seat. We've braced it up with just 2x4s, so it's super stout and good, but we're going to end up laying MDF inside the console as well. We'll wrap every piece of it. Should look really good. I think we're going to do a small sliding door. It bolts down through the floor and braces I just welded in. And what we'll have is probably just a little panel in the floor of the console that you can lift out, unbolt the panel, and I want to make it super simple to disassemble everything. We're using a lot of magnets through the truck, so the battery is behind the seats under the panels, but you can literally walk up and just pull them out by hand because it's all held on by magnets. So we may do something similar in this, but we're just going to keep going. I've already got our inside panel cut that's going to lay in here. So we're just gonna have to figure out what section of this we're gonna make removable to access the bolt. So let's keep at it. Okay, so what we're doing now is we've got a piece of 1/2" MDF that's in the bottom. Now what I like to do with a lot of this is I layer it. So we've got the 1/2" down there that can either be screwed or brad nailed down. And then we have 1/8 or you use 1/4" MDF here. That's basically going to be the face of the bottom. This will be what we wrap and all that. We can have a magnet in this, attach it down, or you can Velcro it. Then you can remove that piece, get to your bolts, remove all that. I do that because I just like, I guess, if someone, I think ahead. If someone were to ever take it apart, I want what's on the inside to still look just as good as what's on the outside. So instead of removing the bottom and just having bracing, you'll remove the bottom and you'll actually have a nice piece of MDF that's wrapped and it looks good and you can still get it in and out. So it's just a little bit of a layering process, but takes no more time. So the best way to do this is to use a drill press. Now I've already attached that bottom MDF piece in the console. Don't know that we're going to get that in a drill press. So if we drill it by hand, typically what happens is the magnet is a little bit more loose than just a press fit. But with the panel bond, if you put any of that on there or epoxy, they're normally in there for good. So we'll just see if we can get that into the drill press. This thing right here. All right, let's drill it. All right, so we've got the back into place now. We've got all of our sections done here. Ooh, I panel bonded those magnets into place, so those are good to go. Now what we're gonna do, we're gonna start making the lid for this thing. Now what I'm thinking about is that I was gonna make this a detachable piece, but there's no reason for that. And I also think I wanna do like a French stitch through here, so I think we're gonna make this all one piece. So the first thing we're going to do, we've got some convertible top window right here, some clear plastic. We can take this, actually lay it on top of here, glue it down, or tailor pin it down, and actually be able to draw a line straight out onto that top. And then we've got a good template for it, so we're going to do that now. Definitely the contours and the curves pinned down really, really nice. Even though this thing is measured out and it's symmetrical, you can't really go wrong with doing a template like this because you can see it when you draw the lines exactly where you are. You're getting an exact template of what you're trying to make. All right, so moving ahead just a little bit here, I've got the top shaped up. So I went over to the roller. I was going to show you guys rolling this piece. My roller didn't want to cooperate, so it's not happy today. So what we ended up doing, we put it in the brake. Then there were a couple of spots where we just needed to get a little more out of it. So we've got a couple of breaks in it around some of these curved transitions. Not a big deal at all because we're going to close cell foam it with 1/4-inch foam, and we're going to block that out. It'll just be a nice smooth piece. But that made it super quick and easy to make it fit. So, something like that. And what I've done, I've cut blocks. I've got magnets in it. Those blocks will just screw in down through here, and this whole piece will pop in. Oh, I haven't told you what we're doing. I did tell you what we were going to do. I changed my mind. I'm one of those, I was talking about this the other day. I'm one of those guys where you have builders who will really sit down and they'll draw it out and critique it and get it exactly how they want it before they ever even build it. I like to just do it with my hands. I get a concept in my head, kind of what I want to see, and I just start building it. So as I'm going through and I'm building it, yeah, I might have an idea and I might sketch it down. But I really like just kind of being creative in the moment and just designing as I go, and that works out really well. So I really like doing it that way. I mean, sometimes you might bend up a piece and go, it's crap, and throw it down. But most of the time for me, it works out pretty well. I end up getting what's in my head, and that's the only problem is I'm the only one that knows what's in my head. So sometimes it's hard to relay it, and we'll do renderings and drawings, but I really just dig doing it this way. So anyway, point being, what I initially told you guys in the beginning, I was going to do a wood top. We were going to kerf it. We were going to bend it along, either staple it or just brad nail it to this piece, and it was going to be one unit, and we were going to have a sliding door up top, and I changed my mind. So what we're doing now, this truck is mainly for show. What this guy's hobby, his passion is going to these shows, and this truck is going to the ISCA World Finals. So I'm really trying to keep in mind just the show aspect of it, not necessarily the functionality or anything like that, just what is cool. So what we're looking at right now is we've made up this sheet metal top, and I've got it in my mind, if I can make this work, I want this whole top to pivot. So it's weird because this piece of sheet metal, it's long and it's kind of awkward, but as we've put some of the magnets in and I've test fitted, it fits into place really nice. So what I'm trying to figure out now is how exactly I'm going to mount the hinges down in the bottom. And once I'm able to mount those hinges, hopefully this whole top will pivot out. So then we can cover the inside and some of the leather that we have that's in the seats. Maybe put some lighting in there, which would look really cool. And if he wants, he can have that thing popped open. And I haven't really seen one like that, I don't believe, where the whole top kind of pivots. I like the idea of it being just one smooth piece where it doesn't have any doors or anything like that in it. It does look really good, and I've done a few that way, but there is no functionality to that whatsoever. And even though I just said we're not really worried about that, I think at least you could get that look you're going for where it's completely smooth, but you could still pop it open if you just needed to throw something in there. So maybe it'll work. I don't know. That's one of those things where we're just kind of flying by the seat of our pants right now. The good thing about it is if the hinge system doesn't work, it's not a big deal. We're still right where we were going to be anyway. We can still cut a hole in the top. We can put the tracks in. We can have a sliding door, and we're still right there. So it really doesn't change a lot other than I just made a metal top instead of a wood top. So anyway, enough blabbing. Let's see if we can figure out how we're going to do this hinge system in the front. I've got just basic style hinges that we're going to try that I already had laying around. And like I said, if that doesn't work, we can magnet this whole thing in where you could just pop the whole thing out if you wanted, and that way you could get to it and unbolt it. And who knows, I might change my mind again. That's the fun of this. That's what I love about building hot rods is you can do whatever you want. So let's see if we can figure this out. So we had the owner come by today, checked it out. He loved everything. So what he actually liked the best was this top panel just magneting into place where you can just pull it out and actually not hinging. So good for us, means we're done with this part. We're going to close cell foam it, start blocking it, and see if we can get these pieces wrapped. So what we've got on the roll is 1/4 inch closed cell foam. This also comes in 1/8 inch. This is a sandable foam, so it's almost like you can use it like a filler. So if we cover the top or any other parts of the interior and there's any imperfections, we're able to block those out in this foam. Next thing we're going to do is just make a rough Sharpie mark of the outline of the console lid. This is just to ensure that when we glue it down, we don't glue it down in the wrong spot and then run off of our foam. This way we can save some material. Next, we're going to take 180 grit sandpaper. We're just going to scuff over the foam. This makes sure that our glue sticks down to it. And we're using contact cement for this. This is Weldwood's Landau top glue. This works really well for all of the interior stuff. We're going to let this tack up for about 15-20 minutes until it's not sticky to the touch. And then if we do it that way, we're able to lift up the material or put it back if we do happen to get it in the wrong spot. Now that we've waited about 15 minutes, we're going to start sticking the top down. You can see right there we were able to separate those two pieces when they stuck together. If you put it down too soon, you wouldn't be able to do that. It'll pull the glue off of the material and just make a mess. So now we're going to try to stay within our Sharpie marks and just glue the foam down to the lid. Now that we've got the foam glued down, we're going to razor blade off the excess foam. What we're doing is we're angling the razor blade inward toward the console lid just a little bit. The reason we're doing that is because we're going to sand the edges of that foam and we're going to bevel it anyway, so this just helps us to not have to sand so much. With 180 grit on a rubber block, now we can block over it. We can bevel the edges also if there's any imperfections, like right there. That's where we broke that top lid, so it's got lines running across it. You can pick that up just a little bit in the foam when we glued it down, so now we're going to rub the block over it. That's going to smooth that out, and it'll look just like one smooth piece. Now it's the same process with the leather. I went ahead and cut a piece of leather, sprayed it with glue and the top lid with glue. It's really important that when you use this particular glue that you spray both pieces that are getting glued together. Now, since we let it sit for about 15 minutes and tack up, we're able to work with it. So if we glue something down, we don't like it, we can pull it back off and we won't hurt a thing. Now, since this piece does have a lot of curves in it, I'm just kind of letting the leather just fall into place. I'm not really stretching it or pulling on it too hard. It's going to fall right in there and look really nice. So now we're going to go around and spray about a 1-inch glue pattern along the side. That way we can wrap the piece. And the same thing goes for the sides. Went ahead and cut a piece of leather for that, spray glue on the console and the leather piece, and it's ready to be glued down. We didn't do 1/4 inch foam on this. You don't really see it due to the fact it's in between the seats, so there was no reason to waste any material there. The only thing we're doing different here, since we're not working with any curves, I'm really going to stretch the leather out here. So since we let that glue tack up once again, we can really work it, we can pick it back up, we can stretch it out and pull it really tight. Now where we're wrapping that bend, we've got a lot of tension right there since we pulled the leather really tight, so we're using scissors to make some relief cuts, making sure not to cut too much. And a little bit of heat is going to soften that leather up and help us to pull it right into place. The last thing I do when I'm using wood, PVC board, or panel board is staple the leather down. Even though we know that glue's not going anywhere, we want this to last forever. Just make sure you check the length of your staples. The last thing you want to do is staple back through that hard work. Push record a little too soon. Chewing on ice. All right, so we've got the sides of the console covered. I went ahead and I covered the top section of it that we made out of metal. Just the same process through and through, using the stapler, using the contact cement to glue it down. So as we fold it over, we're going to make a nice cut and just staple all that down through there so we know it's never going to come back off. Now, one thing that I did, and I'm kind of irritated with myself, it's covered and it looks great. But if you remember, I was talking earlier, I was going to put an insert in here, maybe something 3D. We could have cut some MDF, routed it, or we could have just stitched in kind of this red pattern that would flow down the console. Well, I forgot. I was so in the zone, I was just rolling through. I had that thing covered. I put it in, I bolted it in. I was like, man, this looks great. Literally, Kim walks in and goes, "You're just doing it plain?" And I go, yeah. And I was like, oh, shit. So yeah, that happened. I was in the zone working and we got it covered. The good thing is I really like it. It's really clean. It's super simple. If we have the room and the time, we're going to run a little console from the firewall or under dash panels into the console to make it look like one piece. I can tie something in maybe right there. I actually really like this look. Once she kind of looked at it for a minute, she liked it too. So I think we're going to stick with that. So something that I've jumped ahead and done, and I'm going to show you how we've done it on the other side, is the lower seat panels. So I've also made those out of sheet metal. They're just going to come up, it's going to meet this panel, it's going to kind of hide this void here. The seats aren't going to move. They're positioned where the owner wants it. He did not care if they moved or not. So we've made the panel that runs through here. I've curved this panel to follow the factory plastic piece that we're going to wrap in leather, and then it'll get foamed, and then this piece that goes under the seat just follows that console as it comes down. So that'll just be a nice clean look. I don't think I'm going to put anything in here either. I thought about maybe just trimming out the foam or maybe doing a stitch, but actually after doing the console, I really like just the simplicity of how clean that looks. Going to, I think, try to see if we can foam and wrap these sheet metal panels that we've just done. Maybe we can make those other sheet metal panels, but I'm going to end up having to end this thing pretty quick because we're actually, I don't know when this video will drop, probably quite a ways after SEMA, but we're actually leaving for SEMA tomorrow. So I'm going to, I got to wrap it up because got to go get on a plane and fly out to Vegas. So we got some appearances to do out there, and I got to come right back and hit this thing hard. Hopefully the guys are going to knock a lot of it out. But let's see how far we get. We got a couple more hours that we can work on this thing. We'll see if maybe we can wrap some of this and get those other panels made. And at least we've made some really good progress this week on the interior. We've almost got it buttoned up other than doing the carpet, which I will probably wait to do after paint when we put it all back together. But I'm digging it. It's looking good. I really like the stance of the truck too. You know, we're on the lift, so we're up another 3 or 4 inches anyway. The coilovers are actually adjusted all the way up right now, so we can still go lower, which I think we might go down a little bit. We've got the room for it, but I'm digging the way it looks. Everything's coming together really nice. We've just got a lot to do really, really fast, and that's the tough part because you want to keep quality. That's obviously the biggest goal, quality before anything. And we rarely do deadlines. If we do a deadline, I really kind of plan it out to where I just did this whole thing with no fucking mic. I really like it. Let's foam and cover these. Let's do that first. That way at least maybe we can have some sort of finish to this video. So on these metal pieces, we're going to buzz over them with a DA with 80 grit, really make the adhesion for the glue really, really good. Because if you try to glue over just aluminum or bare sheet metal and you don't rough it up, you'll see that the glue doesn't really want to stick. But if you sand it, it's just like paint. Locks it in. All right, so wrapping these side seat pieces right now and getting to the corners. And everybody seems to always like the corner video, so I figured I'd stop and show one of these. So it's pretty simple to make a good corner. If you see down here, you can kind of see the end result of what we're cutting away. So the way I like to do it is I'll find my corner, which you see it's right there, and I'll come just to the inside of that corner, sit my razor blade almost right to the end of the panel, and kind of make a wine glass shape. All right, you see like there would be the stem of the glass, and it's curving out, and here's where you'd top that baby off. So then we're gonna pull this back, and now we can wrap this side. Now once we get that wrapped, you can see, well maybe you can see, it's kind of the edge of where our cut is right there. So we're going to come just to the other side of the corner. We're going to make that same cut. We're going to slice in, kind of go down the side of the panel, come up, and now we've got these little wings. So what we're going to do then, right where this starts to curve into the panel, we're going to start our cut right there. Normally I would cut this from the other way, so maybe we can do this. Another cut right there. And we basically have a little pull tab. So what we've done is we basically have opened up a gap for this corner material to come lay in. So nothing's going to bunch up and nothing's going to wrinkle up on this side and make it look all bunchy. So you can put a little heat on this and it helps a lot, but since we're just right in the moment here, we're going to take that, we're going to pull that tab tight, and we're just going to lay that into that groove. And now it almost looks like one piece right there. Then get a really nice smooth corner. So easy as that. This one being round, we can kind of get away with not doing that cut. You can see we start to bunch up here, but we can trim away that material, so that's no big deal. All right, so we've got our 1/4 inch foam down here to simulate our foam, and our carpet is going to go into place. We've got just some temporary magnets right there. Pops right into place. I got to make another mount for in the back. Nice, we got all of it wrapped up. I went ahead and covered the plastic piece on the side. That looks a whole lot better. Everything flows together real nice, so I'm digging it. I like it. Console looks good. Too bad we couldn't get to that other side and finish it up, but hopefully the guys can make some progress on it this week. I've got to go catch a flight, get to Vegas for SEMA, which should be a good time. Hopefully I can bring you guys some of that stuff. And yeah, this was fun. Looks really good. I'm digging it. Hopefully we can finish this thing up soon. So, see you guys on the next one.